So we've officially hit the 30-win mark before the 10-loss mark with our NRFIs in the last 39 days. Yes, it is now 39, which I do believe is pretty remarkable if I have to say so myself. Let's get the rest of the best bets flowing today here again with our Monday best bets on August 17th. Yesterday, 2-3, we cashed with the Royals. Shout out to Noah Cameron, almost threw a no-hitter, and of course with another NRFI, and we're one run off of everything else. Astros fall a run short. Blue Jays fall a run short. Yeah, and the Nationals fall a run short as well on the team total over. It's okay. Today is a new day. Yes, it is. And today will be a better day. And folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily MLB Best Bets here on the channel. According to YouTube's analytics, over half of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, so make sure to do so if you have not yet. It helps out the channel a ton if you do two things: subscribe and like, so make sure to do both of those again if you are enjoying the content here on Greedo Plays. Greedo Plays MMA this week, our UFC Sacramento predictions, our Contender Series predictions will be out today, at 5 p.m. Pacific, and our PFL Tampa predictions will be out on Wednesday. Okay, let's go. First of 5 best bets for August 17th. Okay, first best bet of the day, the only day game today at 10:40 my time, 1:40 at least local time in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is a makeup game from the middle of May. St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds. This will now be a 5-game series in Cincinnati between St. Louis and, of course, Cincinnati. So far this year, the Cardinals have won 5 of 8. This will be a 5-game set concluding on Thursday, and today will be the day where it's a doubleheader for both the Cardinals and the Reds. Pitching matchup in the first game, it's Quinn Matthews going for the Cardinals. Of course, both teams will get the 27th player, with this being a doubleheader, but Quinn Matthews will get the ball tonight for the St. Louis Cardinals, or I guess today for the St. Louis Cardinals, and it looks like the Cincinnati Reds are going pen day. Pen days haven't gone well recently for the Cincinnati Reds. Last time they tried this against the Washington Nationals, did not go particularly well for them. Nats won the game 5-3. They opened that game with Chase Petty. It appears that Chase Petty will be the opener yet again today. We do not have official confirmation on that just yet. I'm recording this video a little bit before 2 a.m. I should have got recording a lot earlier, but it's fine. Recording this a little bit before 2 a.m., and we still do not have a designated starter for the first half of the doubleheader for Cincinnati. We already know who the starters will be in the second half of the doubleheader. It'll be Palante going for St. Louis and Rhett Lauder going for the Reds. I'm staying away from that. Cardinals I don't even have odds for that just yet. Cardinals should win that game. Palante's got like a 1.9 ERA against Cincinnati career-wise. But we're looking at the first, I guess, part of the doubleheader with the Cardinals and the Reds. And Quinn Matthews, again, the starting pitcher for the Cardinals. It appears Chase Petty is going to be the opener for the Reds. And again, the last time that the Reds tried this bullpen day, they lost, I guess, a week ago from Friday against the Washington Nationals. Part of that 3-game sweep the Nationals pulled off, their only sweep at home all year long. And Chase Petty opens the game going 1 2/3 innings, and ultimately he gives up a 3-run home run in the first inning to Dalen Lyle. Petty escapes out of the rest of his outing unscathed, but of course gives up those 3 runs in just the first. Of course, as the pen day goes on for Cincinnati, Harry Ford hits a 2-run shot in the bottom of the 4th to give the Nationals a 5-3 lead, and ultimately that does it for the scoring, as the Nats were able to win that contest 5-3. We have not seen Chase Petty since that game against the Washington Nationals. It's because he got sent back down to the minor leagues. Like Quinn Matthews is the 27th player coming up for the Cardinals today, I have to imagine that from everything I'm seeing right now, Chase Petty is going to be the 27th man coming up today for the Cincinnati Reds. Now, Quinn Matthews made his last appearance in the major leagues against the Toronto Blue Jays on August 1st. He pitched up in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, so I guess this will be his United States debut in the major leagues. And he pitched against the Blue Jays, started the game, went 5 innings, gave up 2 runs. Of course, as we saw yesterday, the Blue Jays will have days where they just don't score runs, but I thought Matthews pitched well enough. Going deep into games, a little bit of a problem, I would just say. I'm just going to throw out there with Quinn Matthews. I've looked at his last couple starts in AAA, and he's only been going like 60-ish pitches, but his one and only game that he pitched at the major league level, he threw 97. So maybe the Cardinals, holding off on Matthews pitching in AAA was more so, okay, we know what you have. We don't want you to, wear out your arm right now. We are still technically in a wild card race, the Cardinals are. I mean, hell, they definitely are. We'll talk about their last 5 games in a second. They want their arms to be at, in the best possible condition. So Matthews, I would have to imagine, can go pretty deep into this game. I think so. Reds bullpen, by the way, pretty backed up going into this one. Cardinals bullpen, not that backed up at all. They are coming off of a dominant weekend against the Chicago Cubs. They did lose the first game of that series 3-0, but what they did on both Saturday and Sunday is just absurd. And of course, you can't talk about that Cardinals Cup series without mentioning Joshua Baez. Joshua Baez, first player in Major League history to homer in his first 3 at-bats. That's what Baez does on Saturday for the St. Louis Cardinals. Just remarkable, what can I say? Yesterday, Baez did go 0 for 5 in the 11-4 victory for St. Louis, but again, only 3 hits in the Major League so far for Baez, and his first 3 ABs, they were all home runs. He is 0 for 6 since with 3 Ks. He struck out 3 times yesterday. Hopefully we see another hit for him today. But the Cardinals, kind of a team that I just looked at and thought, okay, they're kind of dead in the water. Yes, they're still hanging around in this wild card picture, but a huge 3-game series in Chicago. And before they played the Cubs, how about winning 2 of 3 against the Philadelphia Phillies? And prior to that, they won 2 of 3 against the Rockies. And then prior to that, they won 2 of 3 against the Yankees. So coming out of the All-Star break, St. Louis has done nothing but win series. Of course, they're not sweeping teams, but they're able to get the edge in every single series that they play. They're only 3.5 games out of a playoff spot. The Nationals are 7.5 now back. Well, I mean, again, I gave up on us getting into the playoffs the second we lost the first game in New York, not let alone the second or the third game. We got swept by the Mets in Queens. What a joke. And we still have the most runs in the sport. We've got 25 runs on the Cubs. It's an embarrassment, man. 670 runs. They will finish with the most runs in the sport this year. And they'll finish probably 10 games under 500, 15 games under 500. Crazy stuff. Anyways, going back to Cardinals versus Reds. Speaking of teams who, well, I guess on the opposite of the Nationals, the Reds can't score. And the Cardinals have been scoring quite a bit recently. I'm not really concerned about, again, this team playing an early game after all that success they saw at Wrigley. I think they're going to really use this momentum going forward. And like we saw, in that last bullpen game that the Reds put out there, it wasn't the greatest. They did only give up 5 runs, but Chase Petty kind of got buried early in that contest. I would imagine that's going to happen again. I don't know, again, how much we can put into this, but in Chase Petty's last, let me get this right, 8 appearances in the major leagues for the Reds have lost every single game. Now, obviously, are all of these his fault? No, but Chase Petty does have a 5.5 ERA in these 8 games. He had a blow-up outing against the Brewers where he gave up 3 runs in an inning. Of course, gave up the 3-run home run to Dalen Lyle last Friday. Had an outing against the Guardians where he gave up 2 runs and 4 hits in an inning. He hasn't been great, and this is an opportunity early for the Cardinals to come through after, again, seeing all that success over the weekend against the Chicago Cubs. Yesterday, an 11-4 victory, of course. No Joshua Baez impact for the Cardinals as he goes over, but no need to fear. How about both Alec Burleson and Jordan Walker with 4 RBI each? Burleson with a 2-run shot to kick off the game. Jordan Walker has a 2-run shot later in the contest in the top of the 4th, and the Cardinals as a whole have 13 hits yesterday against Chicago and completely get on Edward Cabrera immediately. Cabrera giving up 7 runs and 6 hits in just 3 innings. So the Cardinals lineup is turning up again. Of course, we had talked a little bit about them struggling, or at least Jordan Walker struggling coming out of the All-Star break, and after winning the Home Run Derby, he's looked much better recently. And when you've got those top 4 in the lineup all performing well, J.J. Weatherholt, Ivan Herrera, All-Star this season, Alec Burleson, who's put together basically a career year, and same obviously can be said with Jordan Walker, most certainly a career year. When those 4 guys are having good days, they are difficult to beat. Hopefully Baez produces in the 5 spot. We'll see what Nathan Church, Mason Wynn to round out the lineup towards the bottom. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. Cincinnati's lineup, really struggling right now. Yes, they won 1 against the Marlins, but that game was a 1-0 victory in a Chase Burns versus Sandy Alcantara pitching matchup. In both Saturday and Sunday's games, the Reds really struggled to score 4 runs on Saturday and just 1 run yesterday. Oddly enough, there were no runs in that game in general between the Marlins and the Reds yesterday until the top of the 8th inning where Gilberto Hernandez hit a solo shot. Ultimately, the Marlins tack on 7 in those final 2 innings of work. The Reds only get 1. It's a Tyler Stevenson home run into center field. And I keep seeing on Twitter all this discourse about Reds fans being very upset with Elly De La Cruz, a lack of effort at times, and obviously just the struggles at the plate. And I keep seeing Reds fans saying he needs a day off. They need to get him off the field. You know what? I'm okay with if Elly De La Cruz is not playing in the first half of the doubleheader. I have a feeling, again, obviously what people say on Twitter is not actually how the Reds are being managed, but if Twitter's telling the truth here and Ellie does look sluggish out there, maybe we don't have to see him in the first half of this doubleheader. I understand De La Cruz is like 1 for his last 20, but still a guy that I personally still rather have out of the lineup rather than, going up against when we are betting against Cincinnati. And this is what I said, time in and time out when the Reds went to DC and played the Nationals. This lineup's awful. They don't produce anything at the plate. Ellie can be a problem at times. Sal Stewart, sure. If JJ Bleday gets the right pitch, okay, same with Eugenio Suarez. If those guys get the right pitch, Suarez and Bleday, and they get their matchup, they can take the ball out of the park. But post those guys, Michael Toglia batting in the 5 spot right now for the Reds, former, top prospect for the Rockies who just never panned out. Matt McClain struggled a lot this year. Jose Trevino is not a great hitter. Nolevi Marte, TJ Friedel, Brian Hayes, one of the worst hitters, if not the worst hitter on planet Earth currently. It's a brutal lineup. Tyler Stevenson gives them, some hitting from the catcher spot, and you play him, or Trevino, one or the other. Still, I don't like the Reds lineup. I think the Cardinals out-hit them here, and Chase Petty has not appeared in a victory for the Cincinnati Reds since June 27th. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals to win this game. I think Quinn Matthews can give us a good effort. I think the Cardinals likely win both of these games in the doubleheader, but we're only taking the first one. On to our second best bet of the video, we go on to our Nerfie for today. Again, 39 in our last 39 Nerfies here on the channel. Let's look to get another one. American League East, let's go back to one of our Nerfie kings on the channel they are, my goodness, English sometimes, the Tampa Bay Rays. My only concern with this, it's the best Nerfie of the day in my opinion, okay? I went back and forth with this, I had 3. This one, San Diego versus the Mets. But I don't know, man. I feel like eventually Walker Buehler is going to royally suck in the first inning, so I didn't take that one. And then Cubs versus White Sox Battle of Chicago. I got really close to that one, but I feel like PCA is going to fully break out of the slump soon, and I think Luis Castillo is the type of pitcher where PCA can fully, again, become PCA again. So I stayed away from that, and I decided to go to Baltimore and Tampa. It should be fine. Brandon Young going for the Orioles, who has been quietly very good recently, and Shane McClanahan is back. That's my concern. However, Baltimore does not hit left-handed pitching well, and I don't think they're going to hit Shane McClanahan well, who has been great this year, posting a 3.09 ERA with a 1.12 whip. Again, the only concern is that McClanahan is coming off of the injured list. It was a back injury for Shane McClanahan that he suffered back on June 30th against the Texas Rangers. He will now get the start tonight, of course, for the Rays back in the lineup, which, again, I'm fine with. That game, actually, where McClanahan did get injured, and we had the Nerfie in that game. That's the game where, if I'm not mistaken, I think Caminero hit one off the catwalk in that game in the first inning, or regardless, he had a deep fly out in the first. Whatever. We hit the Nerfie on the last Shane McClanahan outing, and I think we get it again here. I get it, he's coming off the IL, and maybe the first inning will be rough for him. The Orioles have really struggled against left-handed arms this season, and I think they're going to struggle against McClanahan. There is a problem, of course, with the Tampa lineup. Like, we always go back to Guardians Nerfies, and I always, keep hammering down the point. Like, okay, Steven Kwan's a problem. Kwan gets on all the time. He bats .275 again. He gets on base, every single game. He has a hit in every single game. We just got to hope it's not in the first at bat. And by the way, yesterday Kwan did not have a hit. J-Ram had a hit in the first inning, but it was the only hit, and we were fine, of course, with the Nerfie. The Padres hit some balls hard, but it didn't matter. We cashed yesterday. The problem we have with Tampa at times is Junior Caminero, right? The power Junior Caminero has. He is the one player who could really disrupt the Triple Crown for Yordan Alvarez in the American League, right? I don't think Yordan's going to get the Triple Crown throughout Major League Baseball. I know CJ Abrams has been a little bit cold recently, and Abrams still does not have a hit since being told he has to move to second base by the Nationals, but I think CJ probably still winds up with the RBI lead in all of Major League Baseball. In terms of the American League, the one guy that's going to stop Yordan from the Triple Crown is going to be Caminero, and that's going to be Caminero with home runs, right? Chandler Simpson's likely not overcoming Alvarez in terms of average. I don't think Dylan Dingler is going to overcome him with RBI. It's going to be Caminero, who's only 1 home run shy currently of Yordan. We shall see. And how about Yordan Alvarez being pinch ran out of the game in the 8th inning yesterday? I know his spot in the lineup didn't come back up, but man, taking your best guy off the field, I don't know. Anyways, yesterday, Nerfie does hit between the Orioles and the Rays. The first run's not scored until the bottom of the 4th, where Tampa hit a solo home run. That's a pitching matchup between Trevor Rogers and Freddie Peralta. Peralta, man, I guess he wasn't that bad yesterday. The runs kind of came in after him, but I still do not trust him in a postseason series. I'll just put that out there right now. Again, the concern with the Nerfy with Tampa, it's always going to be Junior Caminero. The guy hits the ball extremely hard. Caminero, 35 home runs this season. That's fourth most in Major League Baseball, and of course, second in the American League, only behind the aforementioned Yordan Alvarez. Caminero's got an OPS north of 900. He is a very talented hitter. You combine that with the fact, okay, Yandy Diaz in the leadoff spot, Jonathan Aranda in the 2. The way I always describe Tampa Bay Rays Nerfies are, you got to get 2 of 3. You got to get 2 out of the 3 of Diaz, Aranda, Caminero, and then we'll deal with whoever's batting after those guys. Chandler Simpson or Regaz Vilade, whoever's hitting after those guys. We don't care. We got to get 2 out of the 3 initially. Got to keep Caminero in the park, obviously. Diaz, mostly a single machine. It can put a ball in the gap and can get to second. But if Diaz does get on, like Steven Kwan, you got to hope he stays on first base. I think it should be fine. Brandon Young's been putting in some really good outings for the Baltimore Orioles. That's just not really being talked about currently, but maybe it should. Baltimore is well within the race currently in the American League wild card, and actually if the playoffs were to start right now, it would not be the Toronto Blue Jays as the final wild card to round out the 4 teams in the AL East. It would actually be the Baltimore Orioles, who at no point this season did I believe the Baltimore Orioles were going to go to the playoffs, and I still don't believe the Baltimore Orioles are going to the playoffs. But after 3 consecutive victories against Tampa, by the way, they're looking for a sweep today. How insane is that? Baltimore's looking for a sweep at the Trop. The Rays came into the series 23 games over 500 at home this year. And the Orioles may sweep them today. Probably not, but who knows? McClanahan coming off the injury, you never know. Baltimore's in the playoffs currently. 2 games under 500. They hold that final American League wildcard spot. Pretty crazy stuff. I don't think they're going to hold it, right? I still think it's going to be one of Toronto or Detroit. If I had to put my money on it, it's probably Toronto, Detroit, Toronto. I don't know. Seattle, if Seattle gets hot, I've been saying this for a while. If Seattle gets hot, yes, they will get in, but I can't trust that team at all. They're super annoying to watch, and I don't want to see them in the playoffs, neither them or the Texas Rangers, because they're boring. Anyways, going back to Brandon Young, it's not being talked about the year that Brandon Young's having. 3.33 ERA in the year with a 1.32 whip. Yeah, he walks some guys, and he'll average 2 to 3 walks per start, which, again, can be rough. But last outing for him in Minnesota against the Twins, 6 innings, 2 hits, and only 1 earned run. 6 innings, 6 hits, and only 1 earned run. Had a difficult start against the Angels at home, but over the course of the month of July, posted a 3.77 ERA, going 7 innings in back-to-back starts against the Kansas City Royals and the Houston Astros. Pitched fairly well in an outing against the Atlanta Braves, 1 run in 6 1/3. Had a great month of June as he posted a 2.76 ERA, had a 2.86 ERA in May. He's handled pretty much every single team he's seen other than the Washington Nationals, which, I mean, not a surprise. The Nationals, of course, still lead Major League Baseball in runs, so when Brandon Young is not up against the Nats, he has been pretty productive. And I think he can get outs early against the Rays, and of course, as always, gotta keep Junior Caminero in the ballpark. For the Baltimore Orioles, again, they have not been the greatest against left-handed pitching this season. We'll see who they lead off with today, but yesterday, at least, against a right-hand arm in Freddie Peralta, they go Jackson Holliday, Pete Alonso, Gunnar Henderson, and Christian Encarnacion Strand. I have to imagine that Encarnacion Strand will continue to bat in the 4 spot for them. We'll see what they do. I imagine you're probably going to see actually the same lineup. That's fine by me. I think McClanahan will be able to get these outs, right? I know the injury can be brutal, but going into the injury, McClanahan was very dominant this season, posted a 2.49 ERA in the month of July. Of course, this will be his first outing of the month of August. And the 2 starts that McClanahan's had so far against the Orioles have been pretty productive, especially his last one at Camden Yards. McClanahan went 5 1/3 shutout innings against the O's. I think he pitches well here. I'm not going to tell you he's going to pitch 5 1/3 shutout today, but I think he'll get 3 outs, as I do believe Brandon Young gets the 3 outs as well. Again, we've gone to Tampa Bay Rays Nerfies quite a bit here on the channel, and we're going to look for another one yet again today. Give me the -125 between the Orioles and the Rays in this American League East showdown, and somehow, again, the Orioles are looking for a 4-game sweep against the Rays at the Trop, which is just so crazy. But give me the Nerfy. On now to our 3rd best bet of the video, we move on to another money line. Detroit Tigers, Pittsburgh Pirates in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Of course, Paul Skeen's bump day has been bumped to Wednesday. We'll have more on that in a couple days. But today it's going to be Framber Valdez going for the Detroit Tigers and Carmen Molzinski, I always butcher his name, but bear with me now, going for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, I think it's a good spot for the Tigers. The Tigers, who are coming off of a disastrous series at home at Comerica Park after winning four straight series in a row. They sweep the A's in Sacramento. They take 2 of 3 in Seattle against the Mariners, 2 of 3 against the Giants in the Bay Area, 2 of 3 against the Guardians at home, and then you get the first place White Sox coming into town. I'm pumping up the Tigers like crazy. I'm saying, okay, let's see now. I think they should take 2 of 3. Don't be that surprised if the Tigers overtake the Chicago White Sox for first place in the American League Central. I was really pumping this team up, and they get swept at home. We only took them in one of the 3 games, and it was the middle game, the most competitive contest, right? Sox go up early. Tigers are scratching and clawing their way back the entire way. Ultimately, White Sox win it 4-3. Benintendi with an RBI single that barely gets by Kevin McGonigal at shortstop. Sox win the game 4-3, and the Sox, right, sweep the Tigers. Really putting themselves in a great position in the American League Central. They have 5.5 games on Detroit, and with both the Tigers and the Twins getting swept over the weekend, of course, the White Sox were the ones sweeping the Tigers. But you get my point. It puts the Sox in such a phenomenal spot. I still think Detroit is in play for the wild card. It's very unlikely, though, now with the tiebreakers and whatnot, they find their way in terms of winning the Central. Looking at today's matchup, though, for the Tigers, gotta have it. Absolutely gotta have it, right? Although the Central may not be in play, the wild card is still right there for you. If things go the Tigers' way today and the Tampa Bay Rays beat the Baltimore Orioles and the Tigers win this game, yeah, you got swept over the weekend, you're already back in a playoff spot. You would be 3 games under 500, but yes, being 3 games under 500 after today, if Baltimore loses to Tampa, could put you back in the playoffs for now. It's stupid that's how that works, but that's the American League this season. So, huge spot for the Tigers. Every game legitimately matters. Yes, again, all of the wind has been taken out of the sails at home. I get it, but you got to flush that and try to get right back into the wild card race where if you keep winning, you could find your way. You could definitely find your way back to Chicago in the postseason. Likely, though, not until the ALDS because it looks like the American League West winner will definitely be playing as the 3 seed in the playoffs because, I don't know, the Astros currently lead their division 1 game over 500. The Mariners are 4 games back, and they're 7 under in their division. Okay, that's awesome. I think the Tigers win today. Framber Valdez has been pretty good on the road recently. Back-to-back outings for him in both Sacramento, California, and Seattle, Washington. And man, 7 innings in each. Dealt with some hard contact in the game against the Athletics, but got out of it pretty well. 7 innings, 2 runs for some hard double play balls, but got out of everything really for the most part. En route to an 8-6 victory for Detroit. Kyle Finnegan almost blew it late in that game, but whatever, it was fine. Tigers won. Valdez's next start on the road in an 11-0 victory for the Tigers in Seattle. Valdez goes 7 innings, 5 hits, and 0 runs. Was his last outing bad against the Cleveland Guardians? Sure. He gave up 4 runs in 5 2/3, but he's back on the road here, and I'll say I have a little bit of confidence in Valdez now on the road because of the 2 starts he makes in West Sac and at T-Mobile Park in the Pacific Northwest. And I've always put this, I've always talked about the Pirates in this regard. I'll say it again. I've said it all year long. I like throwing left-handed pitchers at the Pirates. It's not to the same extent as it was earlier in the season because they're not as lefty-heavy now, of course, with the emergence of Esmerel and Valdez. And, they've found a way to really rework their lineup so they're not hitting, 4 lefties to start the game like they used to. And of course, there's an injury currently to Ryan O'Hearn, but we're likely going to see the same lineup that the Pirates threw out there yesterday. And Pittsburgh was able to beat Patrick Sandoval and the Boston Red Sox. If Paul Skeens would have started that game, we were going to take the Pirates. I stayed away from it because I didn't trust Lake Bachar and Hunter Barco going back-to-back early in that game, but shout out to the Pirates. They figured it out. I think that Framber Valdez sees a little bit of success here. I know Patrick Sandoval had posted good numbers early in his Red Sox career, but this is a guy, again, whose expected numbers and its advanced metrics were never really in sync with, how his actual numbers were being put together. I'm not going to try to sell you on Framber Valdez's baseball savant chart. We can look at it here in a second, but I do think he sees quite a bit of success against this Pirates team. Pittsburgh likely, again, we're going to see the same lineup as yesterday. That's going to be Jared Triolo in the leadoff, Esmerel and Valdez in the 2, Brian Reynolds in the 3. You're going to see Brandon Lowe in the 4, Flores, Mangum, York, Cook, Davis, or whoever's behind the dish regardless. I hope it's Henry Davis. It probably won't be. I'm still okay with it. Not a lineup that scares me that much. And I know what you're thinking. Well, they scored 8 runs yesterday. They did. Does Pittsburgh do that in back-to-back games? Right, there's a lot of inconsistencies with this team. Game 1 of that series against the Red Sox, they score 8 runs. They win 8-4. Saturday's game, they score 0. They get shut out. They lose 4-0. Yesterday, they win 8-3. Okay, you want to play a little bit of a trend? The trend today would be them not scoring runs. I think Valdez puts up a decent enough game here. I know he was bad in his last outing in Cleveland, but the two starts that really stick out to me, again, are the starts in both West Sac and in Seattle, Washington. Molzinski starting for the Pittsburgh Pirates, of course. A lot of discussion around him this season. Start of the year, of course, as a starting pitcher, got moved to the bullpen. He was not very happy about the decision to move him to the pen. He said he feels like he's still a starting pitcher in this league. And, of course, well, here he will be getting a start / an open. The last couple of games that he's opened haven't been good. Why would we think this one's going to be good either? The last two games that Carmen Molzinski's gotten to open against the New York Metropolitans and the Miami Marlins. Again, this is him being shifted back into a starter / opening role after being, basically switched to a relief pitcher, fully switched to a relief pitcher. His last two opens against the Mets and Marlins weren't good. Back on August the 7th against the Mets at PNC Park, he goes 3 innings, 7 hits, and 5 runs. Buries the Pirates early in that game. Ultimately, the Metropolitans win the contest 6-4. His last outing at Lone Depot against the Marlins, he goes 2 1/3, 5 hits, 4 runs. Ultimately, the Pirates cannot come back from the deficit they face early. Marlins win the game 8-2. Oh, he also walks 3 batters with only recording 5 outs. That's a problem. Huge problem. ERA in the month of August is 10. He was doing pretty well as a relief pitcher, but now back in an opening type role, he has struggled massively. Detroit's lineup, I know they didn't really show up when they needed to show up over the weekend. There was a lot of huge spots in that game for the Tigers, and they just couldn't find that one big hit. But I will give so much credit to the Chicago White Sox and the way that team continues to hit. They are the real deal, and they are going to win the Central. Are they going to the ALCS? I don't know, right? They're going to be a series away in the playoffs from potentially matching up. They will be a series away from in the playoffs from matching up from or against the Rays or the New York Yankees. Of course, we talked about this a lot, right? The White Sox side of the bracket is so much easier than the Tampa Bay Rays side of the bracket because the MLB doesn't reseed anything in their postseason, but it's fine. Chicago's legit. And right now, because White Sox Tigers it felt like a playoff series. It felt like a playoff series. That crowd was in full force at Comerica, and the White Sox took all 3. So now in the playoffs, if the White Sox have to play, here are their potential opponents in a best of 5 to go to the ALCS. Astros, Rangers, Mariners, Tigers, Blue Jays, Orioles. With the exception of potentially Toronto because of the pitching matchups you may face. But the thing is, the Blue Jays don't score runs. I think the White Sox right now beat all of those teams. That's how impressed I was with the White Sox over the weekend, the way that they were able just to sweep a very good and surging Detroit squad. And again, that's why I'm not taking anything away from the Tigers. I didn't think they played particularly bad. Again, they were a big hit away in every single one of those games, but I think they beat the Pirates here. I think they snapped the losing streak today. I think, these bats have been better at least than they were at the beginning of the season. Again, they were missing the big hit throughout the White Sox series, but I think they come through here against Molzinski, a guy that has struggled, and the name of the game for the Tigers will be get on him immediately. We're talking about Kevin McGonigal. We're talking about Dylan Dingler, who of course leads the American League in RBI this season. We're talking about Gleyber Torres, who will likely be leading off. Of course, AJ Hinch baseball, you're going to stack those lefties in the lineup today. You'll see Colt Keith in the lineup, and you'll see Colt Keith, high in the lineup. You'll see a Zach McKinstry, right? Likely not going to see Eduardo Valencia. If you do, he'll be batting in the 8th spot. That's fine. Give me as many lefties as possible today for the Detroit Tigers against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I do believe they win. And also, by the way, something with Pittsburgh, no lead is ever safe. We know how bad that bullpen is. I understand it's improved. I understand the name value's better on it. I'm still not sold, okay? It is significantly better than earlier in the season. Still, though, Gregory Soto gets innings for this team. Oh, you bought Camilo Doval. I know he hasn't had a blow-up start yet for the Pirates. Trust me, it's coming eventually. Oh, you got Kirby Yates from the Angels. Oh, his ERA is only 4 this year. Again, the blow-up is coming eventually for this bullpen. I'm not saying today's going to be that day because we're sure hoping Detroit gets on Carmen early and they just hold that lead, and I think they will. But we shall see. I like the Tigers to win this game. I don't think they lose a 4th consecutive outing. I think they just ran into a really good White Sox squad, and I personally do believe they take down the Pittsburgh Pirates today. So give me Framber Valdez and the Detroit Tigers to go on the road beating the Pittsburgh Pirates, -115 on the money line at PNC Park. Let's move on now to our 4th best bet of the video. We go to our player prop of the day, and let's go to the San Diego Padres and the New York Metropolitans at Citi Field, of course, in Queens, New York. Nolan McClann, of course, starting for the Mets. Walker Buehler starting for the Padres. Again, I contemplated this being the NRFI for today before, of course, settling on Baltimore and Tampa Bay. Instead, we are taking Nolan McClann on the over on strikeouts today at home. McClann's line is 5.5 Ks. I think he goes way over this. Guys, Nolan McClann has gone over 5.5 strikeouts against every team in the last 2 months other than the Atlanta Braves. It's a weird stat, but it is the truth. So other than the Braves, he has gone over this line in every single game since June 6th. Let's not talk about on June 6th specifically. He actually went under against the Padres. But it's fine. He's been really good against everyone but the Braves. It's the truth. Against Atlanta, at least strikeout-wise, right? Nolan McClann has been one of the best pitchers in baseball in the second half. Struggled in the first half some, had a horrid month of May, had that game in D.C. where James Wood hit the inside the park grand slam on him. He had a 6 ERA in the month. He's responded really well since. 2.79 ERA for Nolan McClann in the month of June, 1.78 ERA in the month of July. So far in August, he had a bad start against Cleveland, but then bounced back really well against the Braves. But again, we don't care about how many runs he's given up. Well, actually, we do a little bit because we want him to go as deep into this game as possible for the maximum opportunities, of course, to strike batters out. But ultimately, again, we're looking at just the pure strikeouts. And Nolan McClann has gone over 5.5 strikeouts in every game again since June, other than against Atlanta. Last outing for him, and this is why I like it. I feel like this is a buy low spot. We've done this a lot with strikeout player props. You know, we'll look at a guy who does go way under in his last start, but you look at the last 10, he's going over in every single game. I think this is a good spot for us. So again, Nolan McClann's last outing against the Braves pitches really well. 6 innings of 1-run baseball, but Atlanta, again, just kind of getting themselves out. Well, of course, a lot of that has to do with Nolan McClann himself, but a lot of field outs and whatnot for the Braves. McClann only puts on 3 runners in the game. 1's a solo home run and 2 are walks. Strikeouts are down for Nolan McClann. He only has 3 against Atlanta. But the game prior does give up 5 runs in 5 innings against the Guardians. He's still striking out 8 Cleveland hitters. Against the Marlins, 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 6 Ks. Against the Dodgers, 6 innings, 7 Ks. Phillies, 6 innings, 10 Ks. Start before that in the middle of July against the Red Sox, 6 innings, 7 Ks. And then you wind up back with Atlanta, start at Truist Park, 6 innings, 5 strikeouts. But even before that, Blue Jays, 7 Ks in 6 innings. Cubs had a bad outing, still got 9 Ks in 6 innings. Against the Reds, 7 innings, 9 strikeouts. So let's just say really it's everywhere but at Truist Park. And if you want to go in the specifics of, Citi Field, Nolan McClann's gone over 5.5 Ks at Citi Field in every start since the end of May. I think he does it again here. I think he goes over. 6 strikeouts is not a lot to ask for Nolan McClann. It's really not. You look at what he does on a nightly basis, and you look at the way that he's been pitching recently, I think we should be okay. Now, the Padres are hot, right? I will say that. The Padres are really hot. Yesterday, San Diego beats Cleveland. Of course, NRFI cashes. Padres win the game 5-0. Casey Mize has by far his best outing as a San Diego Padre. He goes 6 innings of shutout baseball. That's what the Padres imagined, of course, when they traded for Casey Mize. But at the same time, the bats get going. Luis Rengifo, how good has he been for the Padres? He was awful. He got DFA'd by the Milwaukee Brewers. He was unplayable for them up north. He comes to San Diego. He's batting .330 as a Padre this year. He hits the first home run yesterday, scores the first run, of course, with a solo shot. Gavin Sheets hits a solo shot yesterday. Sheets has struggled some, and the Padres, 4 of their 5 runs were homers, which ultimately is okay with me. They had 10 hits, sure, and they put hits together, but it's the home runs that are affecting Cleveland yesterday, and especially Tanner Bybee, who has given up a lot of home runs this season, I will say. But solo shots shouldn't beat you. And specifically for a pitcher like Nolan McClann, solo home runs aren't going to kill you in a game like this. Okay, say the San Diego Padres hit 3 solo shots. Who cares? No runners on, of course. Can't say no harm, but you reset and get ready for the next batter. And of course, we're looking just specifically for the strikeouts for McClann here. I think we should be okay. I really think we should be. Again, 4 solo shots yesterday for the Padres. Rengifo, Sheets, Bowen, and then the Crone zone. Jake Cronenworth hits one in the top of the 9th. Yesterday, Tanner Bybee does only strike out 3 Padres hitters, but Bybee, he's been up and down with Ks, I will say. But you look at Bybee's last 5 games, and you look at the spread of strikeouts. He had that one game against the Mets where he struck out 10 hitters. Other than that, he's been under 4 in every single start recently. So I'm not putting much into the fact that Padres didn't strike out yesterday. Nolan McClann's the type of pitcher where you're confident with him striking out anybody. Against any lineup, you're confident, okay, McClann should be able to get the Ks. And I think the same logic applies here against this Padres squad. I did also consider going Mets money line today, but I just couldn't bring myself to do that. Taking the Mets to win a 4th consecutive game after sweeping the Washington Nationals at home. But if you want to say, okay, like, yes, the Mets have momentum on their side, right? I saw a tweet out there saying, oh, don't look now, but the Mets are quietly making their way back into the wild card race. I mean, they're 11 games out. But yeah, the Mets are playing better baseball. There's a very high chance, I'll tell you, that the Mets do not finish in last place in the National League East. And well, hell, going into the season, I would hope you don't finish in last place, given all of that money you shell out every single offseason. But I mean, it is a damn shame the Nationals probably, the way things are going, they probably wind up with a worse record than the Mets. We thought, by the way, C.J. Abrams was moving to second base because they're making way for top 75 prospect Seaver King. Nope. Nasim Nunez still gets to start every single day. James Wood, who probably could be back in a couple weeks, they're holding him out likely for the rest of the season. What a way to end the year for the Nationals. We can still get excited for Cade Cavalli bump days, though, right? That's the one day a week we can play Nationals money line with Cade Cavalli on the mound. Actually, we'll see. We're playing the Rangers starting tomorrow. We'll talk about that. I'm cautiously optimistic about that series for the Nats. Regardless, last time we were in Texas wasn't that bad either. Anyways, I think Nolan McClann goes over today. I mean, this is one of the better pitchers in the sport. Not like it matters too much, but here's the Savant page. Yeah, pretty good stuff. And of course, the only thing that truly matters for us today, expected ERA, sure, expected batting average, yeah, but it's the K rate, right? 85th percentile for Nolan McClann. That is elite type stuff, and I do believe he'll get the strikeouts today against San Diego. So again, we're going Nolan McClann over 5.5 strikeouts at home at Citi Field. This is a line that he has gotten in every single start that he's had in Queens since the end of May, and he does this against everybody but the Atlanta Braves, especially at Truist Park. We'll be fine today with McClann. Give me the over 5.5 strikeouts. Super great buy low spot. Okay, our final best bet of the video. You saw it in the thumbnail, and here we go. You might be thinking, what are you cooking up with this game? It's the Rockies plus 2.5. You don't usually get this good a value on 2.5, but the Rockies today at home at Coors Field are at plus 2.5 at minus 110 odds. Sure. Because I was looking initially and I was thinking, okay, Rockies plus 1.5, plus 125. I mean, I guess, but the 2.5 is there. Absolutely. I'll be taking the plus 2.5 on the Colorado Rockies right now. It feels like a good spot. It does. Blake Snell's second start back. Tomoyuki Sugano going for the Rockies. I was really surprised nobody bit on Sugano at the trade deadline, right? When he had his last start going into the break, he did a whole, farewell thing to the Rockies fans, tipped his cap, and they all, gave him a standing O. And nobody bet at the deadline for Sugano. I will say, it does make sense because, let's look at some stuff, guys. Tomoyuki Sugano is the starter tonight for the Rockies. Blake Snell's going for the Dodgers. Sugano, the starter for the Rockies. Okay, 4.43 ERA, 1.25 WHIP, 12-5 record for a pitcher who pitches at elevation and who pitches for the Colorado Rockies. That is great. The Rockies don't win that many games, even though their bats are super underrated. And by the way, look at this yesterday, 13-7 win for the Rockies. Come on now. How about Colorado? Just saying. Anyways, we're looking at Tomoyuki Sugano specifically. He's been pretty good. 2.95 ERA in July. He's held his own in August. They win games with Sugano. They win a lot of games with him. Again, look at this number, 4.43 ERA. Okay. Oh. This is unbelievable. I mean, this is Eduardo Rodriguez baseball savant page on steroids. Now, E-Rod was an all-star. E-Rod is kind of, tricky dicky shenanigan his way towards an all-star appearance this year. He's gotten the all-star appearance, obviously, already. Guys, this savant page is awful. Absolute worst of the worst expected ERA, expected batting average, exit velo, awful, chase rate, whiff rate, K rate, barrel rate, the worst. Expected ERA is 7. Actual ERA is 4.43. Are we testing it against the Dodgers? Absolutely. Has he struggled against the Dodgers this year? Yes. But guys, I think the Dodgers are going to get hit up here. I think Blake Snell is going to get hit up here. And on top of that as well, Dodgers are struggling to score runs. We're going to talk about that in a minute here. While I'm at it, Blake Snell's baseball savant page. Oh. Blake Snell's pretty good at baseball. What can I say? It's just a damn shame he plays for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, The Dodgers are struggling a lot. They had a very important series over the weekend against the Milwaukee Brewers. I just ripped something in my chair. My goodness, what is that? Oh boy. 4-game series against the Brewers at Chavez Ravine, and that series just started in the worst possible way for the Dodgers, of course. Losing the first game with the Edwin Diaz sell, and of course they won the second game of the series, but then dropped the last two yesterday. Awful game. You have Tarek Skubal going against Logan Henderson. Maybe I didn't rip something in my chair. What happened? Oh, like the lining fell off a little bit. Regardless, Logan Henderson pitches yesterday for the Brewers, and they beat Tarek Skubal and the Dodgers Saturday. Of course, Miz pitches. Great win for Milwaukee. We finally get one on the Brewers. Dodgers are struggling a lot at the plate right now. They have been awful hitting wise, and that continues into yesterday. I think Sugano low-key can give them a good outing here. I think Sugano can crafty veteran his way. He's 36, but in his second year in the bigs, I think Sugano crafty vets his way into a decent performance. And we don't need the Rockies to win. We just need them to lose by 2 or less. That's not much to ask for here. And I'll say it all the time. Look at that Rockies lineup. It's good. It's such an underrated lineup. I like Colorado's bats so much, man. Yesterday, 13-7 win at Oracle. You never see runs in San Francisco. And the Rockies put 13 on the Giants. Let's not look who pitched for the Giants yesterday. And Gavin Hughes started so well, and he's just fallen off a cliff since. He pitched well against the Nationals, though, I'll say that. Rockies yesterday, 13 runs. 13 runs out of Colorado. The perfect baseball player, JJ McCarthy. I always want to do it. Jake McCarthy, not 9, who Kyler Murray took his spot, man. Jake McCarthy, the perfect baseball player with the hit yesterday. Moniak, Carrig, Castro, Johnston. How about Zach Veen since he's come back up? I was in attendance for Zach Veen's splash hit into the McCovey Cove. And they're doing this right now. 13 runs yesterday. They scored 5 winning on Friday when I was in attendance. They're doing this without Hunter Goodman. We'll see if Goodman returns today. He was scratched at the last second on Saturday. Did not play on Friday either. And of course, did not play on Sunday. We're hoping that a guy who's hit the 5th most home runs in baseball in Goodman with 34 can be in the lineup today against the Dodgers. But we get 2.5. I think that's fine. I think that's too many, honestly, for the way the Dodgers are hitting right now. And I get it. They're coming off a series against one of the best pitching teams, if not the best pitching team. No, they are. The best pitching team in Major League Baseball in the Brewers. So obviously they're going to struggle. Game 1, 4 runs. Game 2, 3 runs. Game 3, 1 run. And of course in the series finale yesterday, 2 runs for the Dodgers. So again, that's not crazy that they just didn't perform at the plate. Obviously, it's going to happen to you when you have Logan Henderson and Jacob Mizorowski pitching against you. I get it. And that loaded bullpen. I think Sugano's able to find a way. And there are 2 relievers I like in the Colorado pen. I know Brennan Bernardino struggled at the very end of Friday night's game against the Giants, but I think there's going to be a spot in this game where Bernardino is going to get Shohei, and I think he's going to show up. I think he's going to. Jordan Romano, hey, man. Hey, Romano, that slider still moves. It's got great movement. Romano struggled a lot with the Angels. He's been pretty decent as the closer for the Colorado Rockies. And the Dodgers are struggling, sure, but with all these struggles, despite that, they're still likely going to be the 2 seed in the National League. I think they probably still outplay the Braves from here on out. I think the Brewers obviously get the 1, and I think you'll see the Dodgers in the 2 spot with Atlanta in the 3. And Dodgers fans have the audacity to complain and bitch about this team on the internet. Guys, I'm seeing tweets about how Shohei Ohtani, this is not a joke, these are real tweets I'm seeing about Shohei Ohtani's not performing to the standard, or sorry, he just doesn't care anymore was the tweet I was seeing. Shohei Ohtani doesn't care because he was trying to go after a Cy Young this season. So, okay, let me get this right. A 930 OPS is not caring about the sport. 27 home runs, hitting 290. Still one of the best hitters on the planet, and the odds-on favorite to still win the National League MVP over Pete Crow Armstrong and C.J. Abrams. This is a guy who doesn't care anymore. This is a guy who's underperforming. Dodgers fans live in their own bubble, man. They don't know how it feels, and they're complaining so much. I keep seeing Dodgers fans tweet, this is torture this season. Let's look at the standings. They're 74-51. They're 23 games over 500, and they won back-to-back World Series going into this year. Every other team in baseball would love to be in your position. It's so unbelievable. And it's beyond that as well. So many Dodgers fans bitch and complain about the Kyle Tucker contract. Okay, he's not that good. But you're talking about Kyle Tucker like he's the absolute worst player in the sport. He's pretty bad, but guys, my team rolls out Jorbit Vivas every single day, okay? He's got a 700 OPS. It could be worse. It really could. I understand it's a career worst season for Tucker, but still, it's not like he's He's not the worst player in the world. And it's not like the Dodgers are in need of money, guys. Kyle Tucker is still under contract for 3 seasons, and that's the thing. If he's awful and if he's really that bad, it's only 3 more years. You want to hear it? Okay, hey, the Angels signed a guy who's supposed to be a franchise player next to Mike Trout, and he decided, you know what? I don't like baseball anymore. I love Anthony Rendon, but he did the Angels pretty bad, I guess, kind of. Chris Bryant can't get on the field. The Rockies shell that money to get Chris Bryant. He can't get on the field. He can't play for them. The Washington Nationals re-signed Steven Strasburg to a 7-year contract. He got carpal tunnel. He never pitched ever again. He made 3 appearances after signing that contract. I mean, do I need to say more? The Seattle Mariners re-signed Cal Raleigh to a massive deal. He has a 500 OPS. I know he went yard yesterday in a unicorn home run at Daikin Park, but he has a 500 OPS, and they're stuck with him, and I think Raleigh will be fine eventually, I hope, but he's got a 500 OPS, and Dodgers fans are saying, this guy's the worst player in the sport. I understand he's bad, but he's not that horrible. Oh my goodness, it annoys me so much, that fan base. It really does. I'm taking the Rockies here plus 2.5. I love their lineup. I do. If they had some half-competent pitching, they'd be a problem. They're a young team, but they're a fun team. Moniak, career best year. Carrick, McCarthy, Veens playing well. Troy Johnston. I like Brent Sullivan the way he's been playing, right? He's catching right now for Hunter Goodman. Sullivan had a great series in San Francisco over the weekend. They're playing good baseball as they're pitching ass 100%, but we've seen the Rockies, they've given the Dodgers some problems this year. Remember that game where they came back late to beat Los Angeles? I believe we had the Dodgers in a parlay that day, part of the Dodgers screwing us all the time. The Rockies and Romano had a gutsy save in that outing. I know the Dodgers are 7-3 against the Rockies this year, but Colorado's played them close. Last 3 games between the Dodgers and Rockies, all in Los Angeles, were 1-run games. The Rockies have hit on this, I believe, 7 out of 10 games this year, plus 2.5. Sugano's advanced metrics look awful, but I'm taking Unk one more time tonight. I think he can, we're going to say screw the advanced metrics today. Plus 2.5 for Colorado. We can trust their bats, and we do not trust the Dodgers' bats. Plus 2.5 for the Rocks at home against the Dodgers. Folks, that does it for our MLB Best Bets here on August 17th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily MLB Best Bets. Folks, thank you all for watching, and Mamba forever.